I'm just I'll be reading the chat messages. So let me know if you can hear me well, if you can see me. This is the first time ever I'm on Twitch, so I have no idea if I'm doing things right. um, so if you are just hearing me well, please send a message on the chat. I'll be reading the chat. Probably I'm not gonna be answering to you right on the chat, but I'm just gonna be answering your questions live. Awesome. Just got a confirmation from Yakov that the he can hear me, so I guess all of you can hear me now. Um, so okay, thanks for joining, guys, and this is gonna be recorded anyway. I think on Twitch. Twitch keeps the live streamings for 2 weeks, and I'll try to get it on YouTube as well, so other people can have a look as well if they are interested. Um, the idea today is just to walk you through my environment, my whole setup, all the tools that I use for writing Scala code and Haskell code. Oh, there's Chris Virtual there. Hey, Chris. Konbanwa. Um, so, first of all, I'm running Ubuntu. That's my operating system. I run the 19.10 version, and instead of using the package manager that comes with Ubuntu, which is either Snap or Aptitude, I use Nix. Nix is awesome for a lot of things. It has its pros and cons. But for example, this is all the software I have installed using Nix. Um, One of the cool things about using Nix is Nix Shell. So there is a program called Hello, right? You see that I don't have this program installed in my operating system. If I want to install it, Ubuntu is telling me that I could run any of these commands using either Aptitude or Snap, but that will actually contaminate my whole operating system. My whole system will have access to this hello binary, and I don't want my environment to be polluted with stuff I probably need only once. So this is one. Nix shell is amazing. Uh, we can start a Nix shell and say I want the package hello to be available when I get into this shell, right? So I get into a Nix shell, and if I run hello, it works, right? If you run which hello, you can see that it's stored somewhere in with the hash. This is the way the Nix stores packages. Now I exit this shell, and hello doesn't exist anymore. I think this is amazing, and this is like what I use to configure my Haskell projects. Not so much with Scala yet, but with Haskell there's better support, and we'll get into that soon. Um, what else? Well, another tool that I use is Tmux. I have a session here. Um, Tmux is a terminal multiplexer for those who don't know, but I'm guessing most of you know what it is. I'm personally not an expert in Tmux. I used to use Screen, which is the competitor in Linux, and to be honest, I really like Screen. But I'm just giving it a try to Tmux now and see how it feels. And so far, I like it. I only had to remap the key bindings because it's very strange when you install Tmux. The prefix that you have to use is Control B, which is kind of awkward. It's very far away. In Screen is Control A, which makes more sense. So I remapped the prefix to Control A, and I actually remapped the caps lock to act like Control. So I have Control A, it's a caps lock A, which is right next to each other, which is amazing. I have a session here. I can just reattach to my last sessions. I'll make it smaller so you can see all the labels down there. I have 5 different windows. All these labels at the bottom indicate the number of windows I have. Here I just have a list of my dot files, htop running here. In this window I have the Scala shopping cart. For those who don't know what the Scala shopping cart is the application I wrote for the practical FP in Scala book that I recently published. We're gonna explore it soon and see how how the environment for writing Scala code looks like. In here I have another window which is running Bloop server. Bloop, it's amazing. It's really fast to compile Scala code, to run tests as well. I was just running the test here, for example. I could run Bloop test and test of the shopping cart. And it's very cool and super fast, right? If you had to do this with SBT, it takes ages to get into the SBT session to then run the test command. And this is almost immediately, like 2 seconds. It's awesome. Here I have another window with Docker stuff. I normally, yeah, it's also belongs to the shopping cart, which needs PostgreSQL and Redis. And yeah, I had a list of docked files here, but we can leave this Tmux session now. Jakub says his Bloop is fucking awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. What else? Well, let's get started with Vim. Vim, it's awesome. It's my favorite text editor ever. And right now I find myself using Neovim, which it's a kind of like a new branch of Vim. It has a lot of history. All the goodies from Vim are in Neovim. Well, there has been a new release of Vim called Vim 8, like 2-3 years ago. And so long the difference are not so many with Neovim, but when Neovim came out, it was something different, right? Oops. I have yeah, so let's get started in Vim. I just had a notification on Google. The sound is killing my sound here, so it was too loud. So the perks of doing this for the first time, right? I don't know what can happen, what notification that I would get. And that was Jakub, by the way. I don't know what you're saying, Jakub. I'll read your message later. Because if I get to the Hangouts window, that will be recorded. So I don't want to get into that. Anyway, let's get started with Neovim, right? So I have, before we get started, I have Neovim. In order to get started with Vim, you say the command is nvim, right? But it's like a little bit longer, and people coming from Vim, like I did, or even older from V, you just want to type V or Vim and get into Neovim, right? So like most people just have an alias for Vim, and that's what I had as well. Like V and Vim takes you to Neovim as well. So if you just type V, it will take me to a Neovim session. So I just want to get into the basics first for people that don't know Vim so much. But I'll be brief. I'll try to be quick, and get that. I like to get into show you a first plugin first. Well, no, I don't want to get into plugins first. Let's just edit the foo file here, right? foo.txt, and see what we can do with Vim. So if you look down there on the bottom left corner, you see that it's in normal mode. If I just press I get into insert mode, and I can start typing, right? So let's say it's type some stuff here, foo bar, whatever. I can just say function or like dev food. Damn, it's so hard to name stuff, right? Some Scala syntax here. So this is just a normal document in Vim. It has different modes. One is a visual mode as well. This is a visual mode. I can select stuff. This is a normal mode, insert mode. These are the normal modes. There are text objects and motions in Vim. And normally the ones that you will use a lot are the commands Y, which means yank or copy, D, which stands for delete, and C for change, or X to delete one character. So you can combine all of these with a lot of stuff. So say we have a call to function whatever here, another string here, and say I want to change the whole content of like all the text that is inside the quotes, double quotes, so I can type C I double quotes and it will get me into insert mode. It will delete the content that it's inside the double quotes and it will put me into insert mode so I can type again something better, right? The cool stuff about Vim, I'm gonna leave insertion mode now, is that if I go to the line below and I press the dot, this is the call as the dot command in Vim, it's gonna repeat my command. This is something very powerful. Like mostly every normal command in Vim, it's repeatable and undoable. So I can undo both changes here, or I can go back and repeat them with the dot command or with the Control R as well in my case. So these are the basics of Vim. So we're gonna leave this file now and there's nothing here. Now we're gonna have a look into the plugins, which is what makes my whole setup interesting. Or if you're not using any of these plugins, I'll try to encourage you to use it, because I have a very good experience. The first one is called Net3, which allows you to explore the files on your project or whatever you are in Vim, right? So if I fire off my Net3, this is a tree explorer. I can have a look at the source, see all the stuff here. This is one of the Haskell projects that I have. This is super cool. I can collapse this tree. I can open it again. I have a shortcut for that. You can configure the shortcuts. And Net3 is very cool. It not only allows you to explore and, for example, open the files here, it also allows you to modify files, to copy files, to create new files. For example, for when I create the file in the root, I can say create the foo hs and it will get me here. I can start editing this file here, right? I can delete this file as well, delete the buffer, and it'll be gone again. So far, Net3, it's super cool to have. Another cool feature I have, another plugin that is very essential to my workflow. It's a fuzzy finder, which the one I use is called fsetf, which allows me to find any kind of files in my project. So I type Control P in my case, and I can type, some. I'm looking for the item service, for example. So I can type items, and it pops up there. So I get it. Enter, and I get the file displayed here. This is fsetf, and this is awesome. I couldn't work without any of these plugins. It just makes your workflow really smooth. Another cool stuff you can do with fuzzy finder. Well, it's not really fuzzy finder feature. It's more like a Neovim or Vim feature that you can have split windows. You can create vertical splits, horizontal splits, and sometimes you're looking something on the fuzzy finder. For example, I have the brand services, and I wanted to open that in a vertical split so I can, look side by side both files. I have a shortcut for that. Can't remember exactly what the command is, but I have this shortcut, and it will open this file in a vertical split, and I can jump between splits. I'm on the items file now, and I can go back to the brands file. That is super cool. Let's say I wanted, if you have a big monitor, sometimes you can look at a lot of files. Right now I'm only on a 15 inches laptop, so this one is not really a good idea. But when you're in a big monitor, it makes more sense. You can also open on let's say I want to open, I don't know, the checkout program in a horizontal split this time, and I can do that too, right? So here's the checkout program. I could rearrange all this stuff as well. I put them all in vertical now, and I can switch between windows, and I think that's super cool that you can do this. So fuzzy finder, It's amazing. I think this is essential to any workflow. I'm using the plugin called FZF, but there's another one called Control P as well that it has kind of like the same feature. Not really sure what the differences are. FZF, it's a binary that exists in my whole system as well, because I use FZF for reverse searching. Like if I go, well, if I go here and I type reverse searching, it uses FZF as well. So that's something that you can configure. You don't need to use that for everything. But yeah, so another, well, let's close this stuff. Let's just get, for example, let's open the Cabal. This is the Cabal file, which is kind of like the build SPT. One of the other plugins that I use is called multiple cursors. Some pure Vimers consider this an anti-pattern, but I think it's awesome, and a lot of Vimers really like this one, and I definitely recommend it. Say that I changed my domain module and I rename it to data, right? Now I have to come here and say, okay, change word data, and then I can go down here, press the dot, and we'll repeat, right? But those are a lot of keystrokes just to get that done. If I were to use multiple cursors, I can just in one single command get all selected and just say change all these for data, right? And that's it. Boom. That's a productivity boost just by using this plugin, and it's all undoable in one command. Chris is saying that FZF fuzzy finder gives you a lot of other useful commands, history buffers, etc. I'll have to check that out as well, because I only use it just for this feature and for reverse searching. But there's always something good to learn. Yeah, Soft Neo says that yeah, we can run the typical s/ search and replace in Vim, but that's not the same. I think the multiple cursors and one thing as well, like yeah, you can just use this command, right? S domain data sheet, and it will do the same. You can configure that to be a shortcut as well, but multiple cursors allows you to do other stuff as well. For example, instead of replacing everything, let's say I just want to replace one line yes, one line no. So I can say this one's yes, I want to change it, this one no, this one yes, this one no, this one yes, this one no, this one yes, this one no. And I just change only these ones, right? You can't do that with this search and replace from Vim. Another cool thing is that if I just select them all, I can just go either to the end or to the beginning and say that I just call it my domain. I want to replace it for my domain. You can do that with search and replace, but I find multi-cursor very useful. I can just do this, and it's very visual. You're seeing exactly what is happening. You know, it's like immediate feedback. So that's one of the plugins that I use. Not necessarily every Vimmer will agree that this is the best way. It works for me, so I think like every Vim configuration is very personal. You know, every Vimmer uses a different configuration. Something works for you, and it wouldn't work for other. Or maybe it works, but you prefer something else, and that's completely fine. You know, it's like everybody has a different configuration. So let's move into the next plugin. I said before, okay, what do we have here? Let's just find test files. Here I have some strings. Let's say I want to change, instead of using the parentheses here, I want to use square brackets. So I could just change this, is replace, go here and replace this one, right? But that's slow. It took me a lot of keystrokes to get there. I can use this plugin with gets, you know, like it's you can use the normal Vim commands like change, delete, yank, So I can change surrounding the parentheses and use the square brackets or normal brackets, right? So if you change parentheses for square brackets, and it will do that for me. And the cool thing that this is repeatable. You can just go down, do that again, and maybe not here, or yes there, and here as well, and undoable as well. So this plugin is called Vim Surround, and there's another plugin called Vim Repeat, which makes this one repeatable. Another cool thing is, for example, if I'm using double quotes and I want to change it to single quotes, I can just say change surrounding, double quotes, single quotes. And if I come here, I press dot, and it will repeat the command. I think these are really cool and very, very, very basic plugins that everyone should have. Another one as well that is cool, that not every Vimmer agrees that is a good idea. Let's go to the program here, and it's called Vim Easy Motion, because normally in Vim you can move around with what comes with Vim by default. You don't need an extra plugin, right? But I find this plugin, which is called Easy Motion, very useful. For example, I replace my slash, which takes you to the search, with this plugin. So if I press the slash here and I look for log info in, maybe I'm in a big file and I want to go to that line where there's this log info, but I don't see the change now. You can see there's only one log info being highlighted here. So I can go with tab or not log. I can see the other highlights here and say, oh, this is the one I want to go to, the one that is in log width. So if I press enter, it highlights again the target key. So if I press S, it takes me right where I want to be, and then I can just change this for log error and so on. Yeah, you can see I have auto completion as well. We'll get into that later. But that plugin, it's called Easy Motion, and I can only recommend it. I like it. It works for my workflow, and I think it's great. Another good one, it's called from Nerd3. There's another plugin called Nerd3 Commenter, which allows you to comment code, and it supports a variety of languages, and Haskell is one of them. So for example, if I want to comment the whole thing here, from let to in, I can just press 9, because I have 9 lines, leader CL in my case, and it will comment all of them. Press U, just undo that change. You can see that how did I know that I had 9 lines? That's because I'm using relative numbers here. You can see on the left that I have highlighted in blue the number of the file, the number of the line in the file, 77 in this case, and up and down I have relative numbers. So it makes it very easy to actually count how much. But I could have done this in visual mode as well, which is I just get to select this and then I press leader Control L, and I'll have the same result. What else? So these are all the plugins that I had that I wanted to recommend, but a few others that I have that are nice is, for example, if I yank a line here, I press YY, and I have a highlight for, I think it's like 700 milliseconds. That's configurable, and it shows you what you actually copy into your register or into clipboard, right? So if I just copy 2 lines, each highlights are for a couple of milliseconds. I highlight 5 lines and it highlights that for a second, so you actually have something visible of what you actually copy. So these are the Vim plugins. What else is next? Well, let's get into the good parts. Let's get back into Tmux and let's get into Scala. Here I have the shopping cart application, which is a Scala app. I think if I go into the build SPT or any other Scala file, the build is gonna be imported. Yeah, so I'm using metals I think everybody knows metals now. It's amazing. It reuses, in my case, because I'm already running this Bloop server here, it will reuse that same connection. So it's super fast. I'm not remembering what exact version I'm using, but I don't use all the features of metals because I have a lot of plugins in Neovim that I use for different languages and just text files. And so, for example, I think one of the latest features is that they have a tree explorer, and I use nerd-tree for that, so I don't use that. But what I use in metals is, for example, auto completion, type signatures help. I think that's stuff that it's very useful. Let's see if I can already have this working. It takes some time. Yeah. Okay. So I have some signatures. I can go to definition as well. What else do we have here? Let's go here. Let's come back. So this is using COC, which is I think it's Conquer of Completion. The COC, it's been made for Neovim and Vim 8. It's completely asynchronous. It's amazing. I think it replaced Dioplit or other plugins for autocompletion if you're into it. There's Chris, another Chris. Chris keeps saying something. Chris actually is the author of the Vim medals, I think. Yeah, COC medals. I mean, I find, like every Vimmer is very, very picky about their own configuration. So like getting into a new configuration you're not really used to, it's hard. And so I prefer to just use medals with my entire Vim configuration. Yeah, so the Tree Explorer if you use COC medals integration allows you to see the members of a class. Like, yeah, that's a feature that will convince people that come from IDEs to use Neovim. To be honest, that's one feature I don't need. I probably have I think this is like showing symbols or something like that. It's just outline symbols. Yeah. I only use autocompletion for type signatures and just go to definition. I mean, I used to use Vim for Scala when there was no medals, and so like having medals now is very strange, but it's amazing. It's a life changer, but it takes time to adapt. But all the new Vim users that are into Scala, like I definitely recommend checking out the COC medals integration. So medals, COC, Neovim, this is what I use. I'm in a read only. That's because I jump into the definition of external code of library. This is another feature that I didn't mention before, but this is a shortcut that I have. I have a shortcut that just highlights the file in the Tree Explorer, the current file that I have open, right? So I'm in the security file, and it shows me where it is in the Tree Explorer. I think that's cool. What else? So I think, well, if you have any questions regarding metals and Scala and Neovim, let me know. We can probably take a look into the configuration. I think I have the configuration here, but it's basically COC and metals integration. Here are all the commands. These are COC specific. COC is an LSP explorer. No, COC integrates with metals via the LSP protocol, which also works for Haskell. I'm using Haskell with COC as well, so it's super cool. Yeah, so the Scala configuration is in the COC config, I think. Yeah, so here's the language server. For Scala files, it will run whenever it detects the build SBT or any Scala file. Chris Kip was just asking for this, so I think I just got right into it. That's the COC config. It's very basic for Scala. Basically, it just runs the metals Vim binary when it detects any Scala or SBT file. And for Haskell, I'm using GHCIDE. Well, we're gonna get into that soon. And this configuration here is for this. Whenever you copy something, it will highlight the whatever it's yanked. So it's a COC extension. Give me a sec. I'm just gonna turn on the lights here because I'm super dark. There we go. I'm back. So yeah, that's a COC config file. If you have any other questions regarding the metals configuration, let me know. For Scala, this is the project. I already showed you how to run it using Bloop. Yeah, so very cool. Okay, if there are any questions, again, let me know. I'm gonna get into the Haskell environment now, and I have the same application, the shopping cart, but the Haskell version. And well, first of all, I told you that, well, it's very clear screen. I use Nix shell for the Haskell projects, so you know I can have reproducible builds. Jakub's asking if I have anything fancy for Twitch. No, I don't have anything fancy, or maybe I don't understand your question. But what I have here is a shell.nix. Oh yes, I'm using OBS Studio for live streaming. So this is the shell.nix. This is actually getting me into a Nix shell, like I showed you before. Yeah, it works, and I'm actually on Ubuntu, but I had a few issues with the audio interface, so we can get into that later if you want. So my Haskell configuration to run this project, to compile it, to run the test, it's basically getting into a Nix shell, and where there's a different world. I have a whole lot of dependencies here, and I can compile my project. I can use Cabal new build in this case. I normally create a split window here. Notice that I'm not in Tmux anymore. I'm using Terminator, which also allows you to have vertical splits, horizontal splits, as many as you want. In this case, I normally enter another Nix shell as well here, and I open my editor, Neovim. So in this case, I can just shift this one. There we go. I get Neovim here, and I have a main entry point. So I mentioned before that I'm using a GHCIDE, which is this very light version of an IDE. It doesn't have too many features, definitely not as many features as Metals, but it does what I need. It does what I need and nothing else. So it's very light, it runs faster. I have, you know, type signatures help. I have type jump to definition as well. So I think that's super cool. I have auto completion as well. So say put streamline here, it'll show me the definition on a floating window. This is all COC, the COC and Vim plugin which provides auto completion for any file in Neovim, and in this case is integrating with GHCID via the LSP protocol, the same it does with metals. So that this is great. Like if I do this here and I get a compiler error here, type check, and this compiles, right? It's just I don't get that hint anymore. Before using GHCID, I gave it a try for quite some time to Haskell IDE engine, or HIE, which has many other features, a lot of features, but it's quite buggy as well. So GHCID is like a new kind of like a rewrite in a very clean way. And the good news is like GHCID and HIE are gonna be unified soon. You know, take the best of both worlds and make one single IDE for Haskell. I think that would be amazing. But in the meantime, I'm using GHCID. One of the things that I miss from using the Haskell IDE engine is like you have the linter. You have a linter which warns you about, for example, if I say hello world here, and I put a dollar here, which is basically something similar to putting parentheses here. It's like, dude, the parentheses are not necessary here. You know, like you can just remove that. So the linter will tell you right away. And there is a way to get it working now with an extra plugin, but to be honest, I didn't want to install it. I'm just waiting for this new IDE to come. But I have a shortcut to run hlint, which is the linter here. So if I run my shortcut here, it will show me the hints in the quick fix window, and it tells me found this, perhaps you want this. You know, it's one hint. So I can just, you know, delete surrounding parentheses and it will remove that. Again, I used the Vim surround plugin here, you know, in the same way that I could just delete the double quotes here. Delete surrounding double quotes there. Yeah. What else? Well, we get yeah, I showed that already. To search for files, I'm using the fuzzy finder. I get nerdtree to show me where this file is located. The other plugins I think I already showed. There's another cool one. I think you didn't ask this question now, but some people asked me before, you know, how do you do refactors? You know, if you have to refactor, let's say, let's go back to main and let's say I want to refactor this make items smart constructor, which is a function. And if I just change it in this file, then it won't compile. You know, I have to get the compiler letting me know that it won't compile because it doesn't exist anymore. So let's try that now, right? So let's say I just remove, I rename this make items mk for a proper make, right? So I say make items. Now this is not gonna compile because this one doesn't exist, right? So I could come here, change that again, and then it'll compile. But maybe in a bigger project you will have a lot of refactor to do, so you can't go, you know, it's a little bit annoying to go file by file. Now it's compiling. So what can we do better? There is a plugin called Control SF, for example. I think I have a shortcut here. Yeah. So for example, I search for the word. Let me cross the window. Yeah. So if I put the cursor here and I have my shortcut that will just trigger this plugin, it will open a different split window with all the matches in my whole project. You know, all the projects where I found a match for this keyword, which is make items, MK items. So, and it shows me here, it found 4 matched lines across 2 files. It could be many other files, right? So right here, I could use multiple cursors, or I can just run s/search and replace, the typical Vim, but let's be fancy and use multiple cursors here. So if I select 4 different things, and I call this one make items, and I still haven't made any changes. You can see here is the original file, still called mk items, and here are all my changes. This is how my changes will look if I apply them. So if I just write the changes here, then the plugin will ask me 2 files will be saved, confirm, yes or no. If I do yes, then it will change everywhere in my main and also here, right? I think that's something very cool. There's a question here. The Haskell, does the Haskell language server have rename symbol, which will allow you to just leader and it will rename the file both in main and where the function is defined? Well, the LSP protocol defines that, but GHCID doesn't support that yet, but the Haskell IDE engine does. By the way, does Scala support that renaming in different files now? The last version I was using on Metals didn't support refactoring, renaming in different files. It was only in a single file. Oh, it does. Cool. Maybe I need to update my Metals version. But yeah, it's like you get used to use these plugins. You know, that you get used to this workflow where Metals didn't exist before. There was no LSP. So I think, you know, it's hard to break this workflow and get into use a new different tool. But it's cool that it exists. I think the latest version of Metals that I was using, I could run just the rename in a single file. It didn't support multiple files. Anyway, this is just another alternative. The plugin is called Control SF. It has a few other commands here. I have a few key bindings to the ones that I need. So like, you know, just search for a word under the cursor, or just what else? Well, I have rip grep as well, which is it's a version of Vim grep or grep, but it's much faster. It's written in Rust, which allows me to also search. Right, it will just like show me all the searches here. I have another plugin which allows me to edit the results in the quick fix window, which is this one that is being displayed here with the search results. But I need to be I think I need to be somewhere at the root of the project, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I can't remember exact. I think what the commands are to come back. But if let's just start over again. If I just run this one, I think it will give me all the results here. Yeah, so it's 4 different results, and I have this other plugin that would allow me to rename these for what did I do? I'll cancel all. I don't use this plugin too much, that's why I don't remember exactly how to do it, but I can do this, change it for make items, right? I'm changing it right in the quick fix window, which is normally read only if you don't have this plugin. I'm making the changes here, and you see this is my main file. It didn't change yet, but if I apply the changes in the quick fix window, it will make the changes there and also here. So that's another way to do refactors. Control SF, it's much better for that. There's a question over here. Cool. Yeah, it's soft neo. It's Solar. It's Solar. Yeah, I know who you are. Because you say you were the first follower on Twitch, my first follower on Twitch. So I remember your handle. Thanks for letting me know anyway. The plugin is called Control SF. You can see here Control SF, like San Francisco, where you're based, right? Um, Control SF. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all my environment and the plugins that I use on a daily basis. I don't rely too much on the language server protocol except for type signatures and auto completion on, let's say I'm running. Oh, there's another cool in the case of Haskell, which is in Scala we use how is it called? Scala FMT, Scala formatter here, and if you use the Haskell, it is integrated with metals as well, right? So you can use um, metals just to format your files if you have an Scala FMT integration. Um, if you use the Haskell IDE engine, you can do that. It supports different formatters like Brittany or Nolu in Haskell. GHC IDE doesn't support that yet. In the future, it will be supported as a different plugin that you can just plug it in into GHC IDE of this one Haskell IDE to rule them all. But I have a command here that will run Brittany for me, and it will format my file. So that's just one bash command because Brittany is installed in the Nix shell. It's one of the packages that I use. I figure that would be cool. And another very, very awesome plugin for Haskell that I think it's fundamental to have is Hugel. Hugel is the database for type signatures in Haskell. So whenever you're looking for some function, you just like say, oh, I need some function that goes from text to IO of unit, right? So you can just type Hugel here in the command line and say, oh, give me a function that goes from text to IO of unit. Does that exist, or I should come up with my own? And I just type enter, and it'll show me the results here, right? So I have a couple of different functions. Normally you will use this one, data text IO put string line, and it gives you the information. This is whatever all the documentation it has on this function from the Hadocs. And I think this one is super cool. I wish there was something like Hugel for Scala. It's very, very important to have, but it's also very cool for auto-completion, right? So if I'm using Traverse, I can look at the signature here. I know I see how it looks. A to F of B, it takes a T of A, and it returns an F of T of B. And they're super cool to look at the type signatures. But if I didn't have auto-completion in the past, when the auto-completion was not a feature, I just used Hugel to get me the signature of Traverse, and I'll just read it from here, and I'll just type here. So that's super cool to have. Hugel is amazing. So I think I just went through my whole environment. I hope I didn't forget anything, but if there are any questions, just let me know. Bye bye, Chris. Thanks for joining us. If there are any questions, let me know. I think it's gonna be recorded. I hope the streaming is going well, because it's the first time ever I do a live streaming on Twitch. But yeah, if there are not more questions, I think I ran out of features to show you guys. So one more thing before we go. You must install bat and exa. So bat is this for example, it's a replacement for cat. If I just run user bin cat on my readme file, it would just display like that without any highlights. If I use bat readme file, it will display it like this way, right? And you can go up and down. I think it's super cool. And yeah, cat with wings. Yeah, obviously you can't use bat, but you just create type aliases, Jakub. You just use alias, look, grep cat. You just override cat to use bat. That's what I have. If I do cat readme, it just uses bat. No, Chris, I don't use any other COC plugins. I gave it a try to, I think, COC snippets, which provided some good snippets for Haskell and Scala. But to be honest, that didn't go so well with me. Like, I think I didn't need that much power, and I quickly forget about the shortcuts. I think it was very much overwhelming for me. Yeah, Jakub, you can alias cat to use bat, and in fact, I have an alias for ls as well. So, and it's using exa. You can see ls is equal exa. So if I do lx, it's not really running ls, it's running exa. But bat is amazing. Exa, it's okay. I could live with it, but without it. But I think bat is amazing. So, like, if you want to have a look at the configuration, it's all in my dot files. It's all on GitHub under my repository. It's called dot files. It's very easy to find. Very have configuration for Bash, Neon, Nix, for my whole Vim and Tmux and Terminator configuration. I recently my SSD broke down on my laptop, so I had to get onto my dot files again and make it work. So next time I need to make a fresh install. I have it all here working nicely like I wanted to have. Is there any other question? Another Vim plugin that I thought I really like this free version, good enough. Yeah, Tab9 is a smart auto completion plugin. But I think it's kind of like a competitor with COC. If you use COC, I don't know if it makes any sense to use Tab9. And to be honest, COC it's amazing. Chris Kip is saying that something I came across lately to manage my dot files that I love is stall. I have no idea what that is, but I'll check that out. Thanks for mentioning. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this walkthrough session, and yeah, give me any feedback if you have any. I'm gonna check those plugins out, and well, I'll see you around on Twitter, on Gitter. Just ping me, you know where to find me if you want to talk with me. Tomorrow I'm starting working, so like 1st of April. So wish me luck. I'll see you guys around. Thanks for joining. Why did I choose Ubuntu as my operating system? I used to be a hardcore Debian user, Oliver. So I used to be a hardcore Debian user. I think first time I started using it was back in 2008, or an ex co-worker of mine got me into Linux and Unix systems, and Debian was like my first operating systems in Linux. So I grew with it. I love it. But one day I should try Ubuntu, and I think it just works. You know, in Debian you have a lot of issues with drivers, with Wi-Fi drivers, Bluetooth drivers. In Ubuntu is much better supported, and I want some operating system that works. That's it. I don't need much, because then, you know, my software is being managed with Nix shell and Nix packages, so I don't use Aptitude for that. Only for a couple of programs that don't work very well in Nix, but then the rest is all installed via Nix. So to be honest, I could go back to Debian as well. The only reason I wouldn't go back, I don't know what is the situation with drivers now, and I just like my laptop working without doing any extra efforts, just having the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, the webcam working on my audio interface. And even with Ubuntu, you still find issues these days. It's not perfect. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. So yeah, thanks for joining, and till next time, if there's any. I'll see you all on Twitter, on Gitter. Bye bye.